Welcome to Retrofit Pilates Teaching Tip of the Week. My name is Ruth Ruttan and I am a master instructor and a doula. Class Construction Part 4 is tools for creating a well-rounded class with flow, and it is a more contemporary approach to class planning. A quick review of the past couple of weeks. We looked at starting positions of the body and we grouped or created phrases for each of those positions. We divided it into 6 categories and we came up with a number of different exercises that we could put together for each of those start positions. We then looked at those 6 phrases and made sure that over the course of those phrases we included all the basic movements of the body. They didn't have to happen all within one phrase. They just had to be happening at some point throughout all the different phrases that you had created. We then looked at class elements and we used them to both make sure that we had included enough focus and also to create a good order for our clients to do the exercises in. I totally wouldn't suggest necessarily doing it in this order. In fact, you developing scapular mobility and strength and the leg strengthening and flexibility, especially if you're working on the reformer, might happen much earlier in the class. But it's a good guide. So then last week we looked at regressing and progressing an exercise and selecting supporting pre-Pilates exercises. So the example I used was hundreds, and we broke it down into its basic exercises or principles, and then we chose the exercises from those principles that we thought best supported the exercise itself. We then also looked at the different pieces of movement and how we could break those down and teach them in a way that our clients could grasp. So teaching just the arm pumping first and how to access those muscles, then teaching leg position and pelvic position, and then teaching curling forward, and then eventually blending it all together, especially if they are new to the exercise completely or new to Pilates. So this week, I'm going to show you the 6 progressions that I came up with. That was your homework for last week. For supine, I chose hundreds. For prone, swan rocking. All fours, I chose push-up. Sitting, I chose swan. And for standing, I decided to do some breathing, stretching, and rolling up and down. And for lateral, I decided to do kneeling side kick. So if I were to keep those exercises in that order and use the pre-Pilates that supported them in that order, my class might actually be quite jumpy and they would be moving around a fair bit all over the place, and it might not blend from one section to the next, and even within the phrases they might not be very smooth. So this is how I changed my exercises around a little bit to create some more flow. I decided to change my standing so that I divided it into 2 sections at the beginning and at the end of class. I always think that's a great way to do the class anyway, just because they're coming from outside standing on their feet and they need to return there. So I'm going to do my breathing there, and then to transition to the floor I'm going to do some roll downs so that it's easy to get down onto their backs. So in supine, I've done the same abdominal preps or pre-Pilates preps from before, but I've decided to take my obliques, which was in my sitting section, and my bridging and add them into supine, because I know that to do bridging and then flip over onto my tummy and do swan is very choppy. So I took bridging out of prone and I put it into my supine. So it's going to still prepare my clients for that supine work, or sorry, for that prone work, but it makes more sense to do it here and maybe divide up some of my abdominal work in the supine section. Additionally, in the sitting section, I added a spine stretch side. You'll also notice that some of my exercises that I've selected, I've supported with other exercises. So in fact, if you look at sitting, it's spine stretch forward and side and spine twist. Both of those are actual exercises, but they're also the building blocks for saw. And I've already taught them now rotation in my supine section. And some rolling down in my standing section. So all fours I'll pretty much leave the same, and prone I've moved that bridging section For my lateral, I'll leave that pretty much the same. And then for my standing, the stretching I'm going to do is child's pose or shell stretch, downward dog, and rolling up. And I will likely end my class with some breathing. So I'm going to go back and look at that class, and I'm going to make sure that I've hit all the points that we've already talked about over the weeks. So I want all my start positions, all my body movements, and all my class elements in there. So double check that you've done that too. Then I want to give the class a little bit more bulk. I want to make sure that if I'm teaching this class that I'm not going to run out of time or run out of exercises for the time that I have. I'd rather run out of time. So if I were to teach this class into a beginner intermediate class, I might be able to flesh it out and move slowly enough through both the choreography and the preps to keep them moving, but also to keep them with good technique. However, I've thrown in some abdominal series there just so that if I need to, I can flesh things out a little bit longer. Ideally, I want my warm-up to be about 3 to 5 minutes tops, and same with my cool down, and then each of those middle sections about 7 to 10 minutes. If I can flesh it out like that, I've got the perfect 55 to 60 minute class. So what if you've got a class that is a little bit more intermediate to advanced? So additional exercises can be thrown in, and we'll use the same principle we used before where we're grouping exercises together in similar starting positions. So to challenge this class, in my supine section, I might break it up a little bit with a single leg circle and some roll-ups. Then I might also throw in some single leg kick into my prone section. And the reason I might do that is because swimming takes you from the ground to single leg stretch, which is partially in full extension, and then mini swan and swan support swan rocking fully. So it literally is a progression from the floor up to a higher position of extension. In the lateral work, I might progress that into some of the side bending variations, mermaid, twist, seated twist. Those are all great exercises that you can build on for side work. Here's where I might throw in a duplicate start position to challenge the abdominals more, or even challenge some of the other class elements. I've selected rollover, teaser, and boomerang because those exercises support each other, and they're also great exercises to teach over a period of time. So my clients, if they're intermediate to advanced, may not be able to do all of these exercises, but I could certainly progress them over a few weeks through rollover, through teaser, and eventually combining that into boomerang. There's lots to break down in there, and certainly that would flush out my class a lot. And then a nice simple cool down the same way I was for the other class. So your homework is to make a class plan. So take your 6 progressed exercises and flesh them out so that you could teach it for a beginner intermediate or an intermediate advanced, and just make some notes there to show how you've progressed each of the exercises, so you don't have to select a whole lot of exercises in order to have a really great, well-rounded class that has flow and also meets your time limit. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment. You can also shoot me an email, or you can leave us a message in our Retrofit Pilates Teacher Training Facebook group. Thank you so much for joining us. In the coming weeks, we'll be showing you some video examples of some of these progressions and some others, so stay tuned, and we'll see you again soon.